Anyway.
Mishna Gimel is a
I
story.
know. Okay, third Mishnah. Third Mishnah. What's it about? What's the third Mishnah all about? Shluchim. What is that about? What's the essential idea in the third Mishnah?
When the shluchim go out.
When the what?
When the shluchim go out.
Yeah. When do messengers go out? To do what? Why would they go out?
To start the process of Eidos for being Kaddish Chodesh.
No, not at all.
To inform Klal Yisrael that when the Kodesh is.
These have nothing to do with Edom. These are messengers. Right?
To inform.
To inform or to notify Klal Yisrael of what? What?
Of the Kiddush HaChodesh.
Of what? No, they don't inform. They don't notify them of Kiddush HaChodesh. That already happened. What do they do?
That it's done. That was
Say it clear. It's that it was done. What does that say?
to declare
What?
that the Chodesh.
They don't declare. They notify. Besdin declares. What do? They notify. What? What do they notify about? What is their notification?
That
Yeah.
that this is that the Chodesh was Mikudash.
That's only half the story. What's the other half? You're right. They notified that the Kiddush HaChodesh happened. True. Now what? So everybody will say to them, Yash Koyach!
And therefore, when the Chag.
No.
They notify when it happened.
When what happened?
When the Kiddush HaChodesh happened. So
When?
they notify when the Beis Din won the Kiddush. So everyone knows when to.
You don't mean when the Besdin declared.
Yeah, on which day?
Oh, which day what?
The Beis Din declared.
Which day in a cycle of days has been designated or assigned day one? And automatically everything else follows. Their notification isn't to tell them, by the way, they were Makadosh the Chodesh, thank you. Now what? No, they have to tell the people, Klal Yisrael, which day is a date called one. And once you know that, then we know everything. We know which day is Yontif, everything follows, right? That's what they notify. You see? Right? You have to be precise, you know what I'm saying? Don't be vague. Because if you say it vaguely, that means you're thinking vaguely. You see what I'm saying? Great. So they have to notify Klal Yisrael which is the first day of the month. Which day is the first date of the month. Great. Now what's the Mishnah say?
That there are, first of all, there are 6 of these dates that they go out to.
Oh, that it's not done every month. It's only done for 6 months. Why?
It's only needed in
Who?
6 months.
It's what?
It's only needed. They only need to know. Klal Yisrael only need to know.
Why do they need to know?
Because of the Yom Tov.
Oh, because these are the 6 months, right, that allow Klal Yisrael to celebrate the Yom Tov in their correct date or correct day. That's why. You see, in order for me to celebrate, celebrate Yom Tov, I have to know which day is the correct date. You see, so on the months. Now, how many months are there so far?
We're talking about 6 of them.
What are they?
We have Nisan,
So Nisan tells us what?
for the sake of Pesach.
Pesach, when Pesach falls out. Which day is Pesach? Good. What's the next?
And then we have Av.
Av tells us
Because of Tinios.
Tisha B'Av, right? Yeah. Yeah, good.
Then we have Elul,
Elul is,
of course, of Rosh Hashanah.
yeah, even though which is strange, because just because I know when Elul is, which says Rosh Chodesh is going to be either the 29th, 30th, or 31st, or 30th, 31st. Doesn't tell me anything really. Just because the Elul happens to be, let's say, on Sunday, doesn't mean that the next Rosh Chodesh will be 30 days later or 31 days later. So what's the point of Elul?
No alternative, because Rosh Hashanah is on the first day, when are you gonna do it?
Exactly. There's really no alternative, but that in itself is not sufficient, really. It's true there's no alternative. So what they could have done, they could have celebrated 2 days automatically. You know? You know what I'm saying? But they still had to do Elul. Because the overwhelming majority of times that the month of Elul was only 29 days, that was the overwhelming majority of times. So basically, if they knew when Rosh Chodesh Elul was, 95% of the time, they knew when Rosh Hashanah was. Therefore, since the overwhelming probability, right, that Elul would only be 29 days, and the next day would be Rosh Hashanah, it justified sending out on Elul. You see? And not only that, and not even keeping, 2 days basically.
They didn't used to keep 2 days Rosh Hashanah?
Well, in Eretz they never kept 2 days
Of Rosh Hashanah,
of Rosh Hashanah, yeah.
so it's a modern day Gezerah.
After the codes, yeah. So therefore we have Nisan of Elul for Tishrei for Rosh Hashanah, because 95% of the time Elul was only 29 days. So 30 days or Rosh Hashanah. Okay, if they were wrong, apparently that wasn't so much of a concern. Okay, what's the next? Tishrei.
Then Tishrei,
In other words, then it was our first day of Tishrei. It was only really an assumption based on probability. But we really would love to know, because we still got Yom Kippur, right? And Sukkot and Shmini Atzeres is coming up.
That means the Shidduchim were traveling on Rosh Hashanah.
They were, yeah, that's true. They would have to take off right after Rosh Hashanah. It's
No,
tough.
after Rosh Hashanah, during Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah, that's right. But they were, yes, they would have, it's Yom Tov, yes. Yeah, that brings up all kinds of problems. What happens if Shabbos? The Shluchim cannot violate Shabbos. So there are problems. But you figure Yom Kippur anyway is 10 days later. So even if they started out the day later after Rosh Hashanah, they'd still get the most of the communities. Fortunately, Yom Kippur is 10 days later. Rosh Hashanah had no real problem, So therefore wasn't as much of a problem. So maybe they didn't go out on Rosh Hashanah, they started on the second day, because it's not Yom Tov anyway, Until the 10th day, certainly until the 15th day, they certainly know.
You said it's not Yom Tov because they're counting 10 from the first day of Rosh Hashanah. In other words, you said it's not.
What's not Rosh Hashanah?
Second day of Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah, it's not, yeah.
Because the first day counts 10 to.
Yeah, you count from the first day, yeah. What's next?
So we're just now saying Tishrei,
Yeah, good.
because it's Chanas HaMoedos.
Yeah, how to fix the moed, the date of the moed in the proper day. It's called fixing the moed, or signing, fixing. Yeah, good. What else?
And then Kislev for Hanukkah.
Exactly, good. And that was like the 25th, so that really had no problem. Then?
And finally, Adar for Purim.
For Purim, yeah, exactly. Anything else after that?
And it says, if you Shahaya base Hamikdash Chaya, and when the base Hamikdash was still in existence, Yotzin Af Al Iyar, they would also go out on Iyar because of Pesach Katan.
Pesach Sheni. That's Pesach, which was the 14th, yeah. So there you are. Either 6 months or 7 months, messengers went out. So what's the topic? What's the central idea? So we now learn through the Mishnah. What's the central idea?
Messengers.
Who?
Messengers. When messengers is a center.
Well, messengers is not really the central idea.
It's what they were doing.
What are they
What
doing?
the purpose of the
It's
message.
notification. Through, because there are other ways of notifying, which will happen later on in the second period.
Which they use.
Which they use, the fires. They used to mountain to mountain. So there are other ways of using. So that Mishnah deals with the process or the procedure called notification. And it was done through messengers. And when did they go out? 6 or 7 months. There you are, that's the whole Mishnah. Notification, messengers, 6 months or 7 months. There you are. You see? But that's interesting. Because when you learn about a Mishnah of notification, what do you realize? What do you realize? When you learn a Mishnah that there's notification, what do you realize, which is very important for structure? Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Come on, guys.
Notification is essential to establish certain time
Yes.
periods.
Yeah, well, notification is essential so people can observe the Yom Tov in its proper time. No question about that. But in terms of the ability to structure, what do you realize?
It has to be synchronized.
Yes, that's clear like that. Yes. But in terms of thinking, what do you realize? I'll tell you what you realize.
Has to be communication.
Who?
Has to be a good form of communication.
I mean notification. Yeah, yeah.
In order to be able to.
Yeah, but remember, I'm telling you something else.
Something else.
This is inductive. You need to be able to look at an idea and induce backwards. What's the cloud? Or what's a more general idea? You see, and that's not easy. You know, you look at a particular idea and say, well, you know, so it's easy to go down. That's what you guys are doing. You're analyzing. But I want you to go backwards. I want you to go up. I don't want you to analyze, right? I want you to begin the process of synthesis. You need to be able to do that in every single Mishnah you learn. Because that's how you paint a picture. Or that's how you compose a composition. First you do the outline, right? You have the melody. Then you begin, right? You know, so
Depends
as
how
soon
you
as you
look
hear
at it.
one note, what does that tell you? How do I form a melody out of that note? You see?
It seems like we're talking a unification
Of?
of all Jewish communities.
Well, that's what he said. That's
I didn't say unification. But what's the witnesses of common? It's been determined by Beit Din.
Stop. What did you just say? What was the implication of your statement? What did you just say?
What's the
Witnesses. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Combine witnesses with messengers. And what do you see?
Give and
Well,
take.
the messengers are giving over what was witnessed.
Yes? Exactly. And witnesses do what? They cite the numeral. So if there are two things here, what is it called? It is called a process,
Yes.
not a procedure.
Uh-huh.
Once you have more than one element in this business, then you realize, wait a minute, then there's a whole process, there's a whole bunch of stages going on here. So therefore, the structure of Kiddush HaChodesh becomes what? To identify the different stages. Name. Remember, we're always trying to form a structure. So when you realize that there's more than one thing going on, notification, yes, and witnesses, bam, oh, hey, we're not looking at one procedure, we're looking at a process. A process is a series of steps taken to achieve a specific goal or end. So we realize now that the overall structure of Kiddush HaChodesh is that Kiddush HaChodesh is a process. You see, that's going to enormously help us organize all the Mishnayos. You see?
Is that process sanctification?
Well, it's called the Kiddush HaChodesh process. Yeah.
That's what it is.
But what we now want to do is we want to identify all the different
What are the parts of
steps.
that process?
Let's go. What are they?
Citing.
So first,
Who?
there was the witness itself of.
No, first you have the moon.
Rhea.
Well, that's
Oh,
what I
yeah,
mean.
that's good. First you have to have the situation. That's called the moon.
What stage
So,
it
so
is?
there was a witness of the scene of the new moon.
So you're talking about what? The sighting
Yeah,
of the moon.
yeah.
So he's talking about the astronomical event, and you're talking about the sighting of that astronomical
Human
event.
interaction.
That's two, yeah, well, that's two ideas right there. So the first thing is what? Is the astronomical event called new moon.
Uh-huh.
Now that the event exists, we need somebody to see it. That's called the witnesses. That's called the sighting. That's number two. What's number three?
They have to go through Bezdin.
No, you way down the line. We got more stuff to come before you get there.
This is amazing.
Okay,
You have to
the
go through
astronomical event is one.
That was-
Second thing is sighting. What's called sighting?
Yeah,
Eight,
exactly.
Who?
the Eidos, the.
Witnesses. All about witnesses.
And then,
Who can be a witness?
and the
Who
requirement,
can't be a witness? That's the third stage is, what about the witnesses?
and what you have
The
to witness.
qualifications,
Yeah.
that's number three.
Uh-huh.
Number four.
The witnessing itself, so what are the?
No, that's the sighting.
That's the
Oh, that's
Recording,
That's the
recording.
sighting.
Subset, okay.
The-
What's number four?
Qualifying their Eidos. The
No,
whole process
no,
that-
no, no. You're-
Signing a time?
Who? No.
Traveling to Yerushalayim to report it.
Journey.
The jury.
The journey
Well, that's part
itself.
of the
Why's that?
communication process.
What?
That's part of the communication process.
There is no communications process. Really? This is how the event stacks up.
Okay.
Right? First you have the event, astronomical event, then you have the sighting by witnesses who now journey. Yes? But
Journey is
there's,
irrelevant.
who?
The journey is irrelevant.
It is irrelevant?
Yeah, what's the difference? We don't need to look
Mishna
at
says
that.
they have
I
horses.
mean, what do we care how they travel or what they
Yeah,
travel?
well,
Well,
the main thing is that they get back to Bezdin.
oh, wait. Is there a halachic significance that addresses the journey? Yes or no?
No.
There is.
Oh, if
Are they allowed
Shabbos,
Machal Shabbos?
Yeah,
Yeah, then-
There you are. Hey, that's the bingo. That's the journey. You see? That's why you need to look at the steps because there are halachas that address each step, and it's very simple once you do that. You begin to realize that each Mishnah really deals with one step. By the way, I skipped a step. Event, sighting, witness. And number four is obligation. Do the witnesses who cite have an obligation, minat Torah, to come?
Uh,
Yes.
The concept of obligation is number four. Then number five is if they do have it, is the journey. 5. Got it? What's number 6?
Testimony,
Who?
testimony.
No. You do have to know the Mishnayos, but I assumed everybody somehow looked at the Mishnayos. What's number 6?
Vetting. They want to be sure they really start.
No, not yet.
Chakira, to
No.
say cautious of the
No, well, you have to know really.
When? Which months they come?
Number 6 is the arrival. When they
Oh,
arrive.
what time of the day?
Well, exactly. First of all, they made parties for them. They made parties, that's our halacha. They made big sudas for these guys. Because why would a guy want to travel from Tzfas to Yerushalayim, you know?
Uh-huh.
But he knew they were serving steak, pizza,
Not at the same time.
not at the same time. Tongue, you know, cholet.
Cholent.
Yes, that's it. There's nothing that beats the cholet. There you are, so that's called the arrival. That's number 6. There are ideas about the arrival. And not
Right,
only that,
in order to
And there's
enhance
also
the
rival-
fact that they know they're doing something proper.
no, as an incentive to come. Yeah, you had to give
I'm only
incentives.
here for the children.
Why would a guy, could you imagine, everybody knew there was all of a sudden, they knew the end of the month, right? Nobody wants to travel to Schlein. Why? He's got to pick himself up. And if you live in Sfas, you got to take a caravan or whatever in those days, right? Think about it. So you got to leave your family and you go to work. You can't work that day.
Yeah.
It's a whole day there and a whole day back.
It's an expensive traveling too.
Yeah, expensive. You got to take food. It was a whole, chadgadya. So you can imagine all those people in the outlying areas, right? They didn't go out of their house because they didn't want to sight the moon.
Shut-ins, right?
Because if they did,
They're obligated.
They know they're not really.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
And when they went out, they all looked down and they walked like this
They're all-
and refused to look up.
They could have been Breslovers. Breslovers walk with their head down.
They walked their heads down. So for Breslau, it was no contest. I'm just saying it's interesting to look at the. But number 6 is the arrival. When they arrived, and what happened at the arrival. Critical information. So that's number 6. Now we have number 7.
Examination of the witness.
Beautiful. The examination itself. They finally get into the Bezdin, and Bezdin says, "Okay, guys, sit down." And the examination is number 7. Then what happened? And part of examination is their testimony, their qualifications, etc., etc. It's all these are subdivisions already. What I'm trying to outline is the overall
Diyun.
structure.
And they have diyun.
What? So that's number 7, right? Is the examination. What's number 8?
Declaration.
Who?
Declaration.
No.
Conclusion.
Who?
Conclusion by Bezdin.
Of what? Conclude what?
To accept
Deliberation.
That they're
There you are.
free.
Beautiful. Do we accept the Aegis or not?
That's what I said, diyun.
Diyun?
Diyun, you have to decide whether,
Diyun is a judgment.
well, how do you reach a judgment?
You deliberate. You think about it. No, but what's better is that there's a decision.
Decision.
Do we accept the witness's testimony? So that's number 8. Number 9.
Declaration.
No.
Announcement.
No.
Recording.
It's not easy. It looks simple. You
Recording.
really got to be on top of this. Who?
Recording.
No. You're into recording, that's why.
That's-
No.
Okay.
Well, then they should have called you. You need to record it.
Maybe
So
they
what's
did.
number 9?
So we were only talking about, do we accept the cautious of their ages?
No, do we accept?
No, that's our
that's
bullshit.
part. Kashrus testimony. All that is part of acceptance. We have to accept everything about all the different what's called attributes or the variations or the areas and so on, right? Parameters, whatever. So what's number 9? Believe me, what?
You gotta let people know it. Inform
No.
the people.
So now,
No, you're even after the declaration. No good.
now,
Most people know before you
Well, I got
declare. No
next
good.
too.
Who? Yeah.
they'll have to verify now whether or not it's shaykh
The calculation.
for shlichus to take place in
No.
order to.
No. Forget the shlichus. They haven't even declared.
No,
They
no,
have
no.
not even declared the chodesh yet.
No, no,
they have to-
Way ahead.
Yeah, but I'm
What's
saying,
Calculations.
Yeah.
but I'm saying that wouldn't that be part of the cheshbon as well, whether or not to be mekadesh the chodesh, to see if there's the possibility of.
Okay. What is that called? Fine. I'll work with you. You're in the ballpark, but you haven't hit the home run yet. It's called, you're in the dugout, you haven't come to bat yet. So what is that called, number 9? Who?
They're on the side anyway, they have
What's
their
that called?
calculation.
It's called deliberation. They have to deliberate now. I'm
Uh-huh.
fine, we now accepted the witnesses, but so what? We need to deliberate, do we want to do it on their siding, or maybe we want to move it to the next day?
Yeah.
Lav Dafka, they
Yeah.
said, we're going to do what they
Oh,
do.
good,
Okay, they
that's
saw it on Thursday. But maybe we want to make Rosh Chodesh on Friday for certain halachic reasons.
Uh-huh.
And there are reasons why they would push it off, especially if they came after Mincha. You came after Mincha, okay, you guys saw it, now what? Do we want to make Rosh Chodesh We want to, what do you call, retroactive? No, let's make it the next day, that's it. That's called deliberate, they have to deliberate and decide based on that deliberation. Got it? That's number 9. Now number 10 is, if they deliberated and they decided,
Declaration.
who?
Declaration.
That they declared the Kuddush HaKodeshim at number 10. Yes? What's number 11?
Send out messages.
Notification is number 11.
And that's where we, that's
Wait,
Yeah.
that's what this mission is the last step. And number 12,
Receiving
who?
receiving the notification. The Klal Yisrael receiving.
the children.
I would put that notification. Obviously, they're notifying and you listen. I mean, I don't see that. That's not a step. That's fine. That's good.
Yeah, we had talked about setting specific dates.
No. We're up to it. What's after notification? It won't. It doesn't seem that way, but you realize, yes, it's something to think about.
Implementation.
Who, what,
Almost. It's called, what are the legal consequences of their declaration? That everybody has to listen. That's the whole Mishna where Rabbi Yeshua didn't want to listen to what Rabbi Gamliel said. What are the legal, and therefore he was able to force him to come legally. And he had to listen. It's called the legal consequences. The legal consequences of their declaration. It's now that everybody's notified legally now, or halachically, what are the consequences? That is number 12. But I really skipped 2 in the beginning.
I don't want to remember.
Make it 2A and 2B.
Because to really know about Kiddush HaChodesh, there are 2 things you have to know before. One is the whole concept called time,
Yep.
which I did last week for you.
Yep.
What is Kiddush HaChodesh? You have to understand, what is this really? Remember I told you? Kiddush HaChodesh is what? Is what? Is to designate or to assign a specific date or actually a month on the cycle of days. Because it's an arbitrary concept called a month.
Yes.
You know? So really you have to know about time. Because that's what Kiddush HaChodesh is time units, called a month. You see? And the second thing I do after time is, what are the time units? And those are astronomical events that can be time units.
Right.
The third idea is the lunar unit, and then everything after that. So it's really 14 steps. And you thought this was going to be easy. You see, if you really, what I've done is that
Could there be
I've
a
created,
15th?
what?
Could there be a 15th that we've delegated certain rabbis, leaders, whatever, to make those determinations?
Well, that would, well,
That seems like a separate.
yes, actually, really, it could be number 15. Who is empowered? Who is the authority to do this?
They can
Yes.
add an extra adar, they could change. and make
The truth is, what you're saying is very good. You know, yeah. I left it out because I'm assuming there is a Bezdin and they're the ones who do it. But really, you could add it in and say, okay, who is the authoritative source, or who has the authority to declare, which is very good actually. That's already in Sanhedrin. 3 people representing the whole Sanhedrin and all that. But what you're saying is really very good. Let's add that in. Why not? 15.
But what I didn't understand though is that you were saying that the notification is already done, but we now have to know what to do with that. We were saying just now.
Well, the deliberation,
Logically, what-
well, the legal consequences. Once we know, we know that we know that Sunday is the first of the month. Now what? What's the consequence of that?
But who's we? Meaning just us as
We
based
means
in
Klal
and
Yisrael.
Klal Yisrael.
Correct. What's the halachic implications or consequences of the fact that Bezdin has now signed? And the answer is that everybody has
now
to.
has to want to either get ready for.
Well, everybody has to get in line,
Whatever it is they're.
including Rabbi Yeshua.
Get what do you mean? Get in line.
Means everybody has to follow their Bezdin's rule.
Oh, okay.
You cannot deviate. And there's a whole mission that Rabbi Yeshua wanted to deviate. You know? So that's a legal, that's a very important concept called what is the halachic consequences consequence of a Bezdin declaration or assignment. So you got 15 steps. You see? Isn't that interesting? So the first two is just to get into, the concept of time, the concept of astronomical events. Then we get into the lunar event itself, which is the new moon. So which is interesting is that really, once you have all those ideas, then you can see halachas in every single one. So interesting that the whole concept of Kiddush HaChodesh, most of the Rambam, which is astounding, the Hilchos Kiddush HaChodesh of the Rambam, the first half was how do you determine astronomically the lunar event called new moon? And that's astronomy. You had to know, it depends on the sun, and is the sun in the same latitude as the moon? Longitude, If when the sun and the moon are in the exact same longitude, celestial longitude, that exactly is the, not new moon, it's the birth moon. The new moon is when you can see it. They're two fundamental, see, that's all part of the astronomy. And
Which one doesn't see.
What?
That
You don't
exact
see,
point, one
nobody
doesn't
sees
see.
a birth, the only time you ever see a birth moon, that's my term, the birth moon is when? Eclipse.
Ah.
It's interesting. You're mamish looking at a birth moon. When the moon and the sun line up the celestial longitude, which parallels the Earth's longitude, they exactly line up. That is the birth of the moon. But that's not the new moon. The new moon is when it moves slightly left. And so there's a minimum time that takes because the moon, remember, the moon does not give out its own light. The moon reflects light, right? So the moon's got to move away from the sun in order for the sunlight to bounce off the moon so we can see it. So so the moon cannot be in front of the sun. It's got to move left of the sun a certain degree or arc in order for you to see it. That's called the new moon. You see? But they had to know these calculations, everything. All the calculations of, that's the first half of the Rambam. Kiddush HaChodesh. It's amazing. You have to know all about and then of course once the calendar was gone, then anyway you have to have the, you have to make there's no more sighting. Now you have to have calendar. Well, how do you create a calendar? You got to know astronomy.
I think that's the most complicated part of the Rambam,
Yeah.
is the calculations.
I always find it interesting, if you ever look at the Rambam, Kiddush HaChodesh, for that whole part, there's no Mefarshim except a thing called Pirush. Like the Kesef Mishna, the Magid Mishna, they all disappeared.
They all go to lunch.
No, it's interesting to look, because here, the Kesef, the Magid Mishna, all the Mefarshim in the Rambam, all Ne'elam. They all disappeared.
Rabbi.
I said, okay, Rambam, this is your show.
And
And it was, and it's astounding what the Rambam did. You see what the Rambam knew. Where did he pick up this, I remember the Rambam was 800 years ago, So it's an entire compendium of beautiful astronomical information. There are some books that have been written on the Rambam that really, in today's astronomy, there's a lot of good stuff on this, on the calculations of the moon. That's really what they want to know. They want to be able to calculate the new moon independent of witnesses, so they could corroborate the witnesses. That's what they had to know, independently of witnesses, when, with the exact time, where it would be, what shape it would be, with the horns toward the sun, away from the sun. That's astronomy, So therefore, if they knew that, they can now corroborate the witnesses.
When was the last time we relied on witnesses?
I think in the time of Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya, he was like 200 years after his great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. I think he started 350 or something like that, if I remember correctly, something like that. 350 CE. Rebbe lived in 220, or 220 CE, and about 150 years later, Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya said, because there was no Sanhedrin anymore. What are you going to do? Who's going to declare? Without that, there's no month. That means every month will always be Moleh. Every month will always have 30 days. Because nobody could declare the 30th day. So therefore he sat down and he created the calendar. which was an unbelievable work. Because he had to make sure that, like Rosh Hashanah cannot fall on Sunday. Like Adu Rosh Hashanah, for instance. It cannot fall on Sunday, it can't fall on Wednesday, it can't fall on Friday. Because then you have problems with Yom Kippur and Shana Rabbah. You had to know how to play around with this stuff. And you had to not be able to do it for what? For 4,000 years before the Mashiach comes, Can you imagine anticipating every single month for 4,000 years? These people really knew their astronomy. They knew their calculations, their calendar making.
Rabbi,
I like that.
I saw in the Rambam,
I'll have the sushi here.
Rabbi, yeah, I saw in the Rambam
right.
that Siyata de Shemaya brings. He says, in the Rambam, he says that the month ends 2 days. It's dark 2 days.
What? What's
He
that?
says that the end of the month
Yeah.
is 2 days. There's dark, the dark,
You
before.
mean when the moon
Yeah.
is not visible?
Yeah, it's 2 days. So out of that, they have to decide which one of the 2 days is the new moon.
Okay, whatever that means, yeah.
No, that means that
The main thing
that's
is
the Rambam.
what the main thing is after the birth moon, how much time has elapsed
Yeah, well, that's
for
what
the
they-
visible moon,
Right.
and that's the new moon is a
Right.
visible moon.
But this is
The
the
birth moon is invisible except the time of eclipse. Even then, it's a
but this is the leeway that you mentioned. In other words.
yeah. Okay, see, 30 days or 30.
But it has
days.
an astronomical.
Yeah,
time,
it's
right?
all astronomy.
Yeah, but
It's
okay.
timekeeping, yeah. So they had to know,
Yeah.
how to create a calendar. Everything, we're not talking here about, and they really had to know because
It was
they had
well
witnesses
paid.
coming saying, we saw the moon, okay, where did you see it? When did you see it? How did you see it?
They still would
Is
have
it
a
on
problem
this
with
mission that the
Sudoku.
Rambam
You what?
starts?
They still would have a problem with Sudoku to mess them up, so they had to know.
Yeah, because the witness could have been Tzaddikim.
That's right.
And we know that they messed up the notification process,
Right.
but they also messed up probably the witnesses. We saw the moon and their faults, Oh, that's why you have to have character witnesses coming to justify that these guys are okay. So that was the character witnesses. That these guys could be witnesses. That's the second pair, But what I'm pointing out is the beauty of this 15-part structure is, there it is. Every Mishnah has halacha about one particular topic, and then you subdivide, in each one you can have subdivision and so on. And then that's the structure of Kiddush HaChodesh.
Is it on this Mishnah that the Rambam starts speaking about all the process of astronomy?
Oh, I don't recall. I'm thinking usually my Mishnah, yeah. So now the rest of the Mishnayos can be much easier understood. Where in the process is it? You see? But that you have to do on your own. You have to learn how to do this. You see? Or else it's like a whole jumble of stuff coming at you. But it's amazing that the Mishnah starts with the last thing called the notification. It's like, wow, Whatever happened to the beginning of this process? Whatever. Wow. It's on. Okay. So we did something.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
You might say.
Your two speaking engagements?
Oh, I'm speaking twice. I'm giving, but this is going to be not a Tisha B'Av 21st century. It's going to be a full 21st century. Which means I'm giving one in Mala Dumim, and the other one in Ramat Beit Shemesh, which is your territory.
Malia, your name is.
I'll tell you if in Ramat Beit Shemesh. I'm giving it. If you want to write this down.
Oh, wow.
Do I have your name and address? Okay, good. On Monday, August 31st, at 8 p.m., I'm going to be giving a full 21st century, which means I'm going to include a lot more, since I don't have to talk about Tisha B'Av.
August?
It's August 31st, the last day of August. On Monday, it's going to be in Ma'ale Adumim.
I thought you were in Beit Shemesh.
It's Beit Shemesh, Ramat Beit Shemesh. The name of the shul is Kehilat Avas Sion.
Kehila.
Avas Sion. And it's at 2 Nachlo Timno. That's the name of the street. And there
Not
is
class?
Timno. Timno's in that place. Number 2, Nachlo Timno, at 8 p.m. And it's going to be, it's like 2 hours. Depends how much I want to throw in there, but there's a lot of stuff you can throw in there. And it's 30 shekel.
30 shekels.
Can you go to any restaurant? You've been spoiled. You have really been spoiled. How dare you ask me to do these things?
I think we should pay for this.
But I'll tell you what, we're going to take around a charity collection for you.
No, I think we should pay for this.
Anyway, that's in Ramat Beit Shemesh. And in the other one, which is Mala Dumim, don't even ask me how to get there. There's buses there, but whatever.
It's the same lecture, just in a different city.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So, but I'll tell you anyway, in case you know people in Mala Dumim. It's on September 6th, Sunday, September 6th at 7:30 p.m. And this one is for 20 shekel.
Oh, for them, it's funny.
It's congregation Pnei Shmuel.
Transportation, alone, how much?
It's congregation, actually it's really not bad because a whole bunch of guys can take one taxi and share it. It's not a big deal. Congregation Pnei Shmuel, which is Mala Dumim, and it is at, the address is 102 Derech Mitzpeh Nevo. There you go. So if you ever missed it, you got an opportunity to hear it live. A really full 21st century shit.
Well, they're both the same, you're giving it twice?
I'm giving it twice, yeah. Yeah, it's not necessarily, yeah. So if you really want to, really hear the whole thing.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Hope you enjoyed it.
I just hope I can do this mission over again like we did.
I mean this.
Now you can.
Well, the first thing is remember the 15
Yeah.
steps.
Right.
I'll send you the link once I get it.
So, okay.
What time is the one? What time is
Yeah. 7:30.
7:30 p.m.
Yeah.
Why did I write down 20?
So we're here next week.
20.
I have everybody's name and address on and phone number. Okay.
Very
Okay.
good.
So we did Hashkafa today, and we did what?
Which mission next week?
Give me your.
Next Mishnah. Yeah, because it really goes to the, it's but then it specializes. Shabbos, it's a whole different. The main thing is to pick up the method, to see the method, what's happening, and how you learn and how you think. That's really the main idea.
I'll tell you a funny story.
And all that.
7:7.
What happens?
Well, kind of, yeah, I did that.
Is this still on?
Yeah, he said let it run.
Want to shut it off?
Motion?
Yeah.
He said.